Tonight on The Roast, a dramatic start to the Tour de France and Sydney's monorail has its final voyage. But first, Prime Minister Kevin Rudd has announced his new cabinet, promoting Lindsay Tanner to Finance Minister, John Faulkner to Head of Defence and Simon Crean to Trade Minister. Now, wait, I'm sorry. No, none of that's right. That's his cabinet from 2007. Who wrote that list? Was it you? Why didn't you update the list? What do you mean you don't care anymore? Well, look, I'm sorry to hear that Australia's political climate makes you feel disillusioned and instills you with an overwhelming sense of apathy, mate, but I think you'll agree that that's no Yeah, absolutely. No, again, I'm sorry. My fault. So who can we expect to see in Rudd's new cabinet?
This week on Labour, the cabinet changes forever as we say goodbye to some familiar faces. And hello to a new group of faces you feel like you've probably seen around and maybe voted for accidentally. That's the cabinet this week, and fingers crossed next week on Labour. Labour.
Jeez, they love introducing new characters on that show, don't they? But this new Labour that's headed by a guy from old Labour has experienced a massive surge in the polls. And to discuss those results, we're joined by ABC election commentator Anthony Green's understudy Jazz Twemlow with his segment, Politics.
It's actually pronounced poll-itics. You've got to make something of the extra L. Never mind. Labour's decision to fire their leader and replace her with the other leader they fired has paid off in spades, according to today's news poll. After a 6-point increase, the ALP now trails the coalition by just 2 points, 49 to 51. In the preferred Prime Minister stakes, though, Tony Abbott trails Kevin Rudd 34% to 51%, which means the Australian people are clearly saying they want the coalition, led by Kevin Rudd. They want the Kevalition, a party that blends Kevin Rudd's personality and the coalition's policies, which wouldn't really work because Kevin Rudd doesn't have a personality and the coalition has no policies.
Yeah, right. So what do we learn from these latest poll numbers?
Well, Labour has now twice seen that leadership spills equal bumps in the polls. So expect a leader to be bumped off weekly so Labour can reach an approval rating somewhere around the 132% mark. And of course, Tom, there are 3 other new faces: Catherine King, Julie Collins and Jacinta Collins.
Yeah, which increases the number of women in the Labour cabinet by 3.
And the number of Collinses by a full 200%.
So we've seen a 3-for-1 female swap following this axing of Julia Gillard.
Yes, it follows the babushka doll law of politics, whereby if a female Prime Minister is toppled, 3 smaller ministers emerge from inside her to take her place.
Now, Jazz, what will Tony Abbott make of these leadership spills and increases in women in Labour's cabinet?
Well, really he has one choice. Get stabbed in the back by Julie Bishop, let her become opposition leader, then knife her for the leadership. 2 instant poll surges. And then, with the women that will pour out from inside Bishop, Abbott's standing with women will improve, as well as his standing in the polls, leaving Labour with only one countermove: a new leader, a woman. Some sort of prime woman female minister.
A female Prime Minister?
I feel ready for that again.
Next up tonight, the 100th Tour de France kicked off on Saturday, and given its recent tarnished history involving drug cheats, organisers were keen to mark the special occasion with a fresh start by kicking things off in Corsica, where the world's most famous race could finally get back to being all about the cycling.
It's going to be a massive battle to remove that bus from the finishing line.
Ah, crap. Well, at least the cyclists could still just focus on winning their race.
Oh, the crash.
Oh, a massive pile-up.
Well, I guess that's what happens when you ride in the middle of the road. So it was a dramatic 24 hours where, amidst all the chaos, some cyclists actually cycled and managed to cross the finish line. But even that almost didn't happen thanks to that Australian team bus from Orica Green Edge and their driver Gary Actor, who said after the crash,
"This was my first day driving the bus, so it's not a good start."
Yeah, it wasn't a good finish either. See, here things are looking pretty good. Even a boxing kangaroo on the dashboard for Australia. Giant metal scaffolding up ahead, but that should be fine. No, you've literally gone and broken the Tour de France. Quick, hide behind your hands. That way no one can see you through the giant glass windscreen. And SBS gave us all the details on that guy, whether we wanted them or not.
I'm sitting here in the hot seat right now. Still a little bit damp, actually, from all the sweat that obviously would have been flowing from the driver in those last few moments.
Ugh. And while sweat flowing from a man as he crosses the finish line in the last few moments of the Tour de France is nothing new, Doing it inside an air-conditioned bus, for some reason, makes it all the more newsworthy and disgusting. It's also the first time one vehicle on the road was pissing off a whole bunch of cyclists instead of it being around the other way. And really, by this stage, the only good thing to come out of the Tour de France was that disgraced cyclist and drug cheat Lance Armstrong has finally managed to stay out of the spotlight.
Explosive comments from disgraced cyclist Lance Armstrong have marred the build-up to the 100th anniversary of the Tour de France, which begins tonight.
Old Armstrong just couldn't keep his mouth shut, which might be a side effect from all those drugs. So what's he said?
The Tour de France? No. Impossible to win without doping.
Well, that's a pretty bold statement from Mr. I don't take drugs, I've never taken drugs, but now I've been caught taking drugs. I'm an expert on talking about drugs. For more on that, we've got a team in France covering the race, headed by Rachel Corbett. So let's cross to Corsica now.
Oh, thanks, Tom. Sorry, Tom, I just gotta catch my breath.
Rachel, you're cycling?
Well, you told me to embed yourself in the race. I'm doing terribly, though.
Yeah, I only meant for you to ride alongside the cyclist on the back of a motorbike or something. Look, where's the rest of the pack?
Well, they probably finished ages ago. At the starting line, the real riders took off like spandex gazelles, leaving the research team that you sent me with in the dust. Most of them had zero training, zero drugs, so they succumbed to failure almost immediately, Tom. Turns out I'm the only remotely healthy person on staff.
Now, what do you make of Armstrong's comment that it's impossible to win the Tour de France without doping?
Well, of course he's going to say that, Tom. Winning cycling races using drugs is what he's good at. If no one used drugs, he wouldn't have anything to commentate on. And more importantly, I wouldn't be able to hold out for my technical victory.
What do you mean?
Well, statistically, some of the races could have oxygen-rinsed blood, Tom, and be filled with steroids. So if they're discovered and disqualified, technically I'll have beaten someone. Just like Alex Zul technically won the 1999 Tour de France because Armstrong was stripped of the title last year. I may get it 14 years late, Tom, but it's a moral victory.
Okay, so you're not using anything to enhance your performance?
Nah, no drugs, not even a vehicle support team. How can you really say you're not enhanced when there's someone driving a car alongside you on the track delivering snacks, Tom? I never saw someone in an Olympic pool on a rowing boat throwing cereal at Kieran Perkins. Oh, God. Wait, how are you beating me? What's your secret?
Armstrong's blood.
Armstrong's blood! Filthy cheat!
And finally tonight, Sydney's most underwhelming roller coaster, the monorail, has made its final loop around the CBD. Crowds queued for an hour to get on board, leading the now fired monorail staff to say, "Where the were you people for the last 25 years? And for those people who did manage to get one of these sought-after tickets, there was a sense of excitement at being on one of the last high-altitude trips through the city for 12 claustrophobic minutes. Well, that sounds cosy. Why didn't they put that in the brochure? In fact, some people were so excited they even documented their journey. That looks awesome! People waving you off on your final journey, a jazz band to play you to the next destination, a ukulele duo, balloon artists and 2 Power Rangers. Why are we getting rid of this thing? Oh, that's right, because it's shit. Now, labelled as a white elephant by Transport Minister Gladys Berejiklian, the track will be torn down to help move more people through the city, because nothing improves transport like setting up 3.6 kilometres of construction zones right in the heart of the CBD. But I'm for one sad to see it go, mostly because it's the only thing that looks like what they promised us for years on Beyond 2000. It's a train in the sky, like a plane but on a track and in the shape of a train. Now, with 1,500 people vying for a ticket to the final ride, it's clear that their marketing strategy was successful. As for many people, their farewell ride would also be their first, with people racing to experience a piece of history before it disappeared.
History schmistery, Tom.
Oh, Clark, where are you?
Clark's Persian Rug Emporium. I've been playing the closing down card for years now and I haven't sold one rug. Tom, it's no good. John Farnham says he's retiring for a decade and he's still packing out houses. I've been threatening to leave since 1987 and nothing. Do I need a jazz band, Tom?
No, Clark, you need to sell the Persian Rug Emporium, just like people need to stop walking across set. Dave, what the hell?
Hey man, I'm collecting for Mark's present.
I'm not giving Mark a present, I hate that guy.
It's for his farewell.
Mark's leaving? Oh no, I love that guy. Wow, I guess you never really know what you've got till it's gone. I've only got $5.
Thanks.
So, just as Sydney has said a fond, heartfelt farewell to the monorail, we now say goodbye to our own Mark Humphries with one final cross. Mark, it's going to be so strange when I look up and I don't see you there looming over me anymore. You know I put in $50 towards your farewell present.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, everyone's been really lovely. It's almost as though the idea of me no longer being here has tricked people into thinking that they actually like me.
But Mike, why are you leaving?
Well, I was looking at all the people lining up to bid farewell to the monorail yesterday, and I started to think how much attention I'd receive if I left. I mean, I love jazz bands and Power Rangers. I wish they'd combine their forces earlier each episode rather than getting the crap beaten out of them, but you know, memories.
Mike, I just wanted to say I'm really going to miss what you brought to this place. I mean, there was only ever one Mike, so goodbye, Mono Mike.
I've never even spoken to that guy before. I think I'm really going to miss this place. It's surprising because for years, people have been calling me ugly, expensive.
A white elephant?
Really? Who called me that?
It's people.
Well, they've changed the tune now. I mean, look at all the messages on this card. This place won't be the same without you. Miss you already, Mono Mike. This one here says, you're useless and a waste of public funds. You guys.
I have to say, Mark, I'm getting a bit emotional here. You know, it's only now that you're leaving I realise I'm really going to miss you.
Well, maybe I should stick around. I could give it another go.
Yeah, it's weird. Suddenly I feel like I don't care about you again. Good night.
Guys,